Hello and welcome to another Stamp with Amy K YouTube Live. And today I'm going to show you how I made a card with the Autumn Expressions stamp set bundle, which is one of the new ones from the upcoming upcoming mini catalog, which is the September to December 2024 mini catalog. And I'm trying to make sure that I'm live out here. It's acting a little strange, so I'm just I don't know for sure. Hopefully I'm live where I want to be live. And maybe it's just taking a minute to refresh. There we go. Okay, I think I can see me now. So I think we're live. Okay, let me scoot the camera around just a little bit here. And all right, so there we go. All right, so as I was saying, I am going to be using one of the new stamp set bundles from the upcoming September to December 2024 mini catalog. This is available now to pre-order for demonstrators, and customers will be able to order it beginning on September 4th. So if this is a bundle that you love as much as I do, then you'll definitely want to get your hands on it. It's actually part of a whole suite of products. I've used some of the suite, but not everything on my card today. So there's some beautiful designer series paper that goes along with this stamp set bundle that I did not use, but I know I will be in the near future because it's so pretty. So, hey, Karen and Mary Ruth and Debbie and Karen and Mario and Darby. So everybody, thanks for hopping in today. I appreciate you being here. So again, this is the card we're going to be making today. Just if you've seen the mini catalog, you may recognize this. I sort of stole the layout a little bit, changed it up a few things about it, but stole the layout from the mini catalog. And speaking of the mini catalog, I mailed those out to my customers yesterday. So if you're a customer of mine, you should be getting your catalog very soon. So I see Lori and Susan are hopping in as well as Gwen. Thanks everybody for joining. So this is the stamp set, again called Autumn Expressions. It has, I love the fonts and the sentiment in here. It's got some pretty fall and kind of generally thank you sentiments in it. There's a little kind of wood grain piece here, and then we got the little wheat and the leaf in here. And then it has this awesome set of coordinating dies that are called Autumn Expressions dies. And the open dies here will cut out your stamped images. And then this cool little thing, we're going to use this sort of today. It's not used, I'm not using it as was really intended. You can use it to create a frame basically so it cuts out the whole piece if you want it to. And then you fold it in half on the score lines and you've got a frame. You can fill whatever you want in inside the frame. The other thing you can do with this is a little like clasp thing at the top and the little chain here, and you can turn it into what would look like a little coin purse. So it's a cute little set of dies, and yeah, a good stamp set bundle. One of them again that will be available in the upcoming mini when it goes live on September 4th for customers to order. So that is the die set, stamp set. Let's get rolling here. We gotta find spaces to put a few things because I have stuff everywhere. Designer Series paper sale is going on now through the end of August. Don't forget about that. It's the 14 papers, so this is some of them. I'll flip it over here. The rest of them that are on sale from Stampin' Up's annual catalog for 15% off during the month of August. So make sure you're getting those in, getting your orders in for those papers, and using your $5 off coupons. If you earn those during the month of July, you've got $5 off coupons, and you can use them on this Designer Series paper sale, so you can kind of double dip on that, which is awesome. So, all right. And then online exclusives, just make sure that you're taking a look at those when you go and order your paper. Go look at the online exclusives. These are some of the new ones, definitely not all of the new ones from the online exclusives. So go take a look. Whoop. Oop, oop. There we go. Come on now. Fingers work. All right. Not a good sign for later. Hopefully they'll continue to work better. So more of the online exclusives. And then again, just a reminder, make sure you're using those bonus days coupons. You're redeeming those through the end of August. If you don't redeem them by the end of August, they'll go away and then you'll be sad and I'll be sad. So make sure you use them. All right. Order the dies in the frame. I can't, yes, it's going to be great with that Designer Series paper, Susan. So like I said, I just kind of, I don't know, I used it, chopped it up a little bit and used it more as a frame as opposed to the little well, kind of a frame around the sentiment, I should say, rather than the frame that encloses something. So, all right, so let's get going. I'll stop yakking and hopefully I'll make more sense later. So, all right, so we're going to start with some Cajun Craze cardstock. This is cut to 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and all the measurements and everything will be on my blog tomorrow, which is stampwithamyk.com, and I'll link directly to the blog post once it goes live for ordering, or goes live for ordering. Okay, I have a feeling it's going to be a rough day. It goes live tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. Eastern time. That is what I was trying to say, live for ordering. I don't even know where that came from. All right, so Cajun Craze ink, and I've got the little leaf image from the Autumn Expression stamp set, and we're just going to stamp this a couple times here on this panel of Cajun Craze cardstock. So we're going to do a couple here, and then we'll do a couple here on the opposite side, kind of up a little bit higher, and then one that's kind of out to the side here. And these don't really matter exactly how you have them stamped because obviously it's mostly going to be covered up by the layering anyway. Yes, I'm blaming it on the weather too, Karen. It's not that I can't talk. Okay, it's kind of that I can't talk. All right, so then I have got my Timber 3D embossing folder, which is one of those that's been around for a little while, and it's a good one. I love using it all the time, but it's really good for fall. So I use it tons during the fall. Stampin' Up! Embossing folders, most of them have this little line that runs across them. Hopefully you can see it here on the screen. That is designed to help you line things up straight. Now this is not the end of the world if you don't get it put into the embossing folder perfectly straight, but it's just a nice little guide. So if you want it to be straight, that's a nice little thing that will help you with it. So, hey Connie, thanks for hopping in. So I'm gonna go ahead and do the embossing. Since this is one of the 3D embossing folders, the sandwich is a little bit different. So if you're using a different cut and emboss machine than I'm using the Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. If you're using one of the other ones, just put your standard base plate down, then put your embossing folder with the paper inside it, and then get the number 4 plate from Stampin' Up! And run it through your die cutting machine and it will emboss perfectly. This plate is actually sold as part of the Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine, but it's also sold separately. It is called the specialty plate. So if you have a different embossing, stamping, or a different cutting and embossing machine, you can purchase this plate and it actually will work. So it doesn't probably work in every single, but kind of your standard cutting machines that are the same size platforms and things as the Stampin' Up! One, they'll work in. So, all right, I'm gonna run this through the machine. And then we get the embossed panel here and start throwing things around. Then I've got a Cajun Craze card base. This is just your standard card base, which is 5 1/2 by 8 1/2 and scored at 4 1/4 right in the middle. And we're gonna get a little bit of liquid glue. And just gonna run it here all over the card front. A little bit in the middle too, to adhere the embossed panel on. I tend to emboss a piece of paper that is the same size as my card front, even though I am going to put it and cover up the entire card front with it, just because I struggle to get the entire card front put into an embossing folder and have it work very well. Usually you get a little extra piece here at the top that didn't get embossed, or you get it stuck in crookedy and it doesn't work right or whatever. So I usually tend to just cut a piece that is the same size as the card front and adhere the two together, and nobody is the wiser because, you know, they can't tell that it's glued together. You and I know just because, you know, I'm doing this right here in front of you. But so, all right. I did do a couple of die cuts ahead of time, and I will pull out the dies here and show you which ones I use. This is Mossy Meadow cardstock, and I use this die and this die to cut that. And then I did stamp one of the leaves ahead of time since it's just the same leaf twice. So rather than having to run it through the machine 2 times, I just figured I'd only have to do it once here with you. So I've got Cajun Craze cardstock, and again, that same leaf image that I stamped on the front. And we are going to stamp that again in Cajun Craze ink on the Cajun Craze cardstock. And then we'll set that aside. Next up, I have got crushed curry cardstock, and we got the little wheat image and crushed curry ink. And we're just going to stamp that in crushed curry ink on the crushed curry cardstock. And then I'm going to close that one up So hey, Sherry and Judy, thanks for joining today. And then I'm going to grab my little chamois here and clean off my stamp so that I can stamp it again in wild wheat on wild wheat cardstock. And again, it probably wouldn't have been the end of the world if I had just gone ahead and gone straight to the wild wheat ink, because it is definitely a darker color than crushed curry, but I try not to mix my ink pads together and end up with some sort of strange color by the end of it that nobody knows what it is. So, all right, so I've got these images. I'm going to go run these through the die cutting machine, so I'll be right back. Oop. All right. See if I can get these done in a couple passes here. Maybe. All right. Oop. Come on. All right. Got my one leaf done here and the one little set of wheat. Let me grab the other one here. Oop. There we go. And there's my other die cut little set of wheat. All right, now we can, well, hold on, I got one more thing to do before we can start assembling the background here. So these are from the Woven Golden Leaves, and you get a pack of these. They're 75 in the pack, and they're really pretty. They're very, I don't know, kind of dainty looking. They're not particularly delicate. I did find that out. They're pretty strong. So basically, you really have to tug at them if you want to pull them apart. However, I will tell you that the back of the packaging, at least right now in the initial packaging, says that it's peel and stick. They are not. I tried. That was how I destroyed one of them yesterday or the day before, is I was trying to see if I could find the adhesive backing on it, and there isn't any. I called Stampin' Up and verified, and they said no, in fact, it was a mistake on the packaging, so there is not any kind of adhesive on the back of these. So just be aware of that as you're using them. That if you get one of the early on packages, I think they're going to try to correct it in future prints of the little packaging, but as of right now, it's not fixed. So I'm using the dark Mossy Meadow Stampin' Blends marker, and I'm just adding a little bit of color to the leaves. If you like them as straight gold, you can use them as straight gold, but if you change the color just a little bit, you can change the color just a hair by adding a little bit of one of your favorite Stampin' Blends over the top of it. So, hey, Crystal, thanks for hopping in. Glad you're joining today. And Judith as well. So, all right, so let's start assembling the card front. When I initially made this, I will tell you that I went ahead and did the stamping on the sentiment and everything originally. Kind of laid it all out around it and figured out where things were going to go. But since I've already done this card once and I kind of have my sample card here that I can look at, I'm just going to go ahead and assemble the background, and then we'll stamp the sentiment and put the framing around it and all that stuff. So, all right. It is nice that these can be colored. I really like it. So like I said, the only thing that, because they are not self-adhesive, I don't know how well it shows through here, but you can definitely see when you put a glue dot or any kind of adhesive behind it. So when you use them, you're just going to want to make sure that you put it in a spot where that little glue dot is going to be covered up by something else, which is pretty easy to do because you can just tuck them underneath sentiments or whatever. So, all right, got my Mossy Meadow little die cut here that I'm going to put over the top of my leaf. Kind of tuck that up towards closer to the corner. And then we've got the crushed curry die cut, and I'm going to put a couple glue dots behind that one. And we'll layer that right over the top of the other two. So we get a little peek of both the leaf and the greenery behind it. And then we've got our wild wheat die cut, and we'll just same thing with that one. Gonna take that and tuck it in here around the others, making sure I haven't covered up my stamped leaf completely. But yeah, I think we'll put it in right about like that. And then we've got one more little leaf we're gonna tuck in over the top, and it is one of the Cajun Craze leaves. that I've stamped. And I'm still waiting, whoops, I ripped that right off. I'm still waiting to find, I stamped an extra leaf yesterday and I completely lost it. I cannot figure out where in the world, I'm sure it's stuck to the back of something. I'll find it one of these days and be like, there's where that leaf went. But yeah, I don't know where it went. It was on my desk and it disappeared in the assembly of the card. So, oh well. All right, so then I've got my other little leaf that we're gonna tuck in down here, kind of right around that area. And then the mossy meadow leaf we're gonna put in over the top of it. Sort of like that. I think we'll do that. And then I'm gonna layer my sentiment over the top and we'll add our final leaf once we get that done. All right, so let me grab basic black cardstock to start with, and I've got my little embossing buddy, and I'm gonna rub over this to hopefully minimize the fingerprints and getting embossing powder where I don't want it to go. So got my Grateful for You sentiment from the Autumn Expression stamp set. We've got Versamark ink, and we're just going to ink it up well with Versamark. And then stamp it here on the basic black cardstock. And I don't need to worry about it being super straight or in any particular place, just because we're going to be die cutting this anyway, so nobody's going to know if you stamp it all sorts of crazy. And then I've got gold embossing powder from the Metallics Wow embossing powders. And if you haven't tried them yet, they are really pretty. They're much brighter, in my opinion, than the original Stampin' Up embossing powders. So they're definitely worth getting if you are needing some new embossing powder. All right, so again, closing that up before I start up my heat tool so that I don't end up with embossing powder flying everywhere. Stampin' Up heat tool has 2 settings on it. There's a level 1 setting for drying. So if you're doing something like watercoloring and want to speed it up a little bit, you can use the level 1 setting. Level 2 setting gets a little bit hotter, and it is for heat embossing. And it does take just a second for the heat tool to heat up enough to actually emboss the image. So just gonna give it a second here and turn it towards my project. And hopefully it'll start. There we go. When you see it start getting shiny and smooth, you want to keep moving your embossing or your heat tool over the embossed area so you don't accidentally burn your embossing powder, because you can do that and it turns kind of brown and not very shiny and it's not very pretty. So you definitely don't want that. All right, almost done here. Just got to get that last little bit on the Y. All right, so there we go. All heat embossed. And so like I said, I don't know how well it shows on here, but in my hand, this is a much brighter gold than what we used to have with the standard Stampin' Up embossing powders. So these are definitely very pretty. And like I said, if you need more embossing powder, definitely get this stuff. All right. Now, when you look at, oh, come on, Amy, get these out of the way. When you look at this little die, just notice if you're going to use it like I did for the frame, there are 2 different sides to it, 2 different widths. So this one is a wider width. This one is a narrower width. And I discovered they don't, you can't use them interchangeably. So just know that if you're going to cut everything with one side of it like I'm going to do, make sure you're using the same side for all of it. You either use this one or use this one because they're not exactly the same size. So just be aware of that if you're using it like I am. So I'm going to take this and run it through my die cutting machine, and I'm just going to cut half of it essentially. And when I get done, we've got this piece in here, and then there are the pieces that are still stuck in my die that are for making the frame. So I just want to pick those out, and I don't want the basic black ones, so I'm just going to toss those aside, and I'll go recycle them at some point. Then, again, I'm just going to take this same die, and I'm going to run it through with gold foil sheets. So, again, just make sure you're using the same side of the die that you used to cut the sentiment, otherwise they won't fit well together. So I'll go run this through and I'll be right back. All right, so this time there's couple little extra pieces. This centerpiece you can definitely use on something else, so hang on to that one since that's a nice size piece. And then I'm just going to pick this out of the die. There we go. And this is what you end up with. So it does have these extra little tabs on it. If you don't care about those, you can leave them on there. I didn't necessarily love the way that it looked, so I took my little paper snips and used my awesome non-existent fussy cutting skills and just snipped them off to make it a little bit of a thinner frame. So again, if you don't mind the way they look or you want to fold them around and, I don't know, use them as something else, go ahead and do that, but I just cut them off. All right, and it gives you a nice thin little frame. And I have a hard time cutting and talking at the same time. So there we go. All right, so I got those little pieces snipped off and out of the way. These two fit together. Again, they fit together perfectly if you've cut them with the same side of the die. So I'm going to flip it over, and we're actually going to put the basic black inside the frame for the inside the gold frame, and I'm just going to line it up here, hopefully. There we go. And then I'm going to grab some Stampin' dimensionals, and I'm actually using the whole ones, which I rarely do when I'm making a card, but this one, it actually worked a little bit better to use the whole dimensionals because I can put them over the top of the basic black as well as catch the edge of the frame. So you're going to want to do that when you're putting this together. You can use your half ones in the middle if you want to, but to hold the frame together, I thought it was easier to use the full dimensionals. And scoot this one in here. And then we got one down here. One more along the edge, and maybe a couple towards the center. Yeah, I think we'll do one in the middle since we're using the full-size ones. And then I'll just pick these off. There we go. All right, I think I've got all the sticky back exposed. Let me get this out of the way before I end up with a mess here. I got all kinds of bits of die cut pieces all over my card front. All right, so then we're going to take this and we're just going to layer it right over the top of all of our pretty little die cuts here. Try to get it fairly centered and kind of straight. And smoosh it down. And then I'm going to grab my one little die cut leaf that I had left over, and we're going to put a little glue dot on the back of that. Maybe a couple little glue dots on the back of that. And we'll take it and tuck it right in here along the edge with the die cut frame. So there you go. So that's kind of it for most of the card front. Need to add a couple little embellishments because I couldn't not do it. So these are really pretty. They are called faux glass dots. And I can't remember the colors already. I know there's Cajun Craze. I think that's Old Olive. I don't know what color yellow. This one might be Wild Wheat, and that's Pumpkin Pie, I think. Don't quote me on that. I'm still trying to remember everything from the new catalog, but I'm working on it. All right, so I'm going to take one of the Cajun Craze, and we're going to tuck that one in down here. Then I'm going to grab another one of the little ones. We'll tuck that in over here. And then, yeah, I think we'll use another little one instead of a big one on this one. And we'll put that right over here on the top of the leaf. So again, it doesn't add a ton of extra, but a little something shiny on the card front I always like. So added a few of those on there. And then I'll just throw my glue dots right on the floor like I intended to do. The inside of the card I kept pretty simple as well. Just did a little stamping on the inside. And I've got my Wild Wheat ink pad here. And again, we're just going to stamp the wheat image kind of once off to the right. One more time here, a little bit left and a little bit down. And then close that one up. Then we've got Cajun Craze. And I'm just going to ink up the leaf. And we'll stamp one of the leaves kind of over here. And one of them up in this area. Close that one up. We'll put it inside the card and we'll be all done. So grab my Stampin' seal. Oh, thanks, Karen. Copper Clay, Cajun Craze, Mossy Meadow, and Wild Wheat. So I was wrong. I'm probably actually using the Copper Clay ones on here then because the Cajun Craze I would think would be lighter. But anyway, I don't know. Like I said, I think you can kind of mix and match them because the colors to me don't look like they match up exactly with the little dots. So I think, yeah, you can make them work for whatever color you want. Orange is orange is orange. and rust is rust and yellow is yellow. So there you go. That's my theory on it. All right, we're going to stick this to the inside of the card. There we go. Fold it closed. And I'm actually going to flip it over and be a little gentle when I do my embossing or my creasing on here to try not to smash the embossing on the card front. And that's it. So all done. Use some of those pretty new little leaves that we've got that I've already forgotten the name of them. Let me get the packaging. The woven golden leaves. So use a couple of those on here in the Autumn Expression stamp set bundle, which is a beautiful one. Again, all of this will be available for customers to purchase starting on September 4th. If you join as a demonstrator between now and then, you can add these items to your starter kit, which is awesome. There's lots of new Christmas in the upcoming mini catalog as well. So if you want to get a head start on your Christmas, join now. Put in your, purchase your starter kit, and then you can pre-order anything else that you couldn't get into your starter kit. So there you go. All right. Thanks so much. Oh, I agree, Judy. I think the new embossing powder is fantastic, and it really shows up much better than the old stuff did. So I really like it. I was kind of unconvinced, and I wasn't going to get it, and then I decided to, and I'm really glad I did. So, all right. So that's it. I will plan to be live back on my 10 a.m. Eastern time schedule starting next week, Tuesday, and again the following Friday. We've got a couple more weeks of summer, and then once school starts, I may change the time again, depending on how it works out. But for right now, we'll plan to stick with the 10 a.m. Eastern time until that doesn't work anymore. So thanks, everybody, for being here. I appreciate it. Have a wonderful weekend. Enjoy the rest of your Friday. Hopefully, you've got better weather than we do. We've got the little remnants of Hurricane Debbie coming through today, so lots of rain and just kind of ucky outside, but not terrible. So, all right, have a wonderful weekend, and we will chat with you all soon.